Nowadays, when it comes to the NBA media, longevity is praised 24/7. And if you're watching TNT, ABC, ESPN, I can virtually guarantee you, either Doris Brooke Reggie Miller is going to mention LeBron's age and his longevity non-stop. And I'm just sitting there wondering, at what point did longevity become more important than a player's peak and their prime? And looking across the NBA landscape, nowadays guys in their mid-30s approaching 40, them averaging 25-30 points per game is commonplace. And these so-called analysts, they never seem to ask, why are players nowadays this great this late in their careers? Well, a couple of reasons. First off, improving in training, rest, recovery, etc. Number two, the NBA nowadays, admittedly so, is much more offensively friendly. Reason number three, the reduced emphasis on playing all 82 games. I mean, at this point, it's gotten so ridiculous, the NBA has rules for a game limit to an MVP. Absolutely pathetic. Now, the last reason why players are playing so great late in their careers is very obvious. Nowadays, playing on both ends of the court as a superstar is not required. For example, seeing guys like Curry, Durant, LeBron James, they're averaging 25, 28, even 30 points per game late in their careers. It's impressive in one respect. But here's the thing, Curry, never a great defender. Durant only played defense in Golden State, and LeBron, post-2018, has played no defense. And when it comes to the casual NBA fan, if they see a guy like LeBron James score 30, 35 points, they'll be in awe and just blown away. Now, me, myself, and a lot of you guys, actually valuing defense, someone like Michael Jordan late in his career was much more impressive. And Jordan, compared to Curry, Durant, LeBron James, in terms of sustained longevity, sustained play late in his career, wasn't as great. But in terms of quality longevity, quality years on both ends of the court, he destroys all of them. And looking at his last 2 years in Chicago at age 34 and 35, in the late 90s, that was like 36 or 37. And Jordan those 2 years, winning back-to-back championships and 1, a harder defensive era, 2, playing every single game, and 3, with much worse recovery methods. What Jordan accomplished at age 34 and 35 is unparalleled in terms of quality longevity. And for Jordan back in the day, there was absolutely no load management, and no such thing as quote-unquote playoff mode, and that flippy would switch come playoff time. And that's one thing I've always marveled at. LeBron James admittedly has playoff mode. So what does that mean? It means, admittedly from his own mouth, he's saying he coasts for the majority of the season, and come playoff time, kicks it up, and actually starts playing on both ends of the court. For guys like Jordan, Hakeem, Wilt, the great two-way players of the past, there was no playoff mode where you turn up intensity on both ends of the court. But unfortunately for today's NBA, the notion of playoff mode is accepted league-wide. And staying with the current NBA, Adam Silver, even David Stern a little bit, tried to make the NBA season so much easier. As back in the day, playing all 82 games, it was a grind. And in terms of back-to-backs, 3 games in 4 nights, that was routine for every NBA superstar. Nowadays, Adam Silver has made the schedule so much easier, it's almost comical. I mean, look at these numbers right here. Michael Jordan's final 2 years in Chicago, he played 41 back-to-backs. LeBron in the last 6 years has played 39 back-to-backs total. And if you include Wizards MJ, making that 4 seasons, in those 4 years, played 75 back-to-backs, nearly double LeBron James in a 6-year time period. Now going one step further, looking at games with 1 day of rest or fewer. Michael Jordan, 97-98, had 125 such games. LeBron in the past 4 years has had 138 such games. For Jordan in his last 2 years in Chicago, over 75% of his games with 1 day or less rest, compared to LeBron James in the last 4 years, who barely 40% of his games met that criteria. And looking at Jordan in Washington, age 38, 39, and 40, he played 103 games with 1 day of rest or fewer. Highly impressive. LeBron James, at the exact same age, only 65 games met that criteria. Looking at back-to-backs, Wizards MJ played 34. LeBron at the same age, only 13. When talking about longevity, sustained greatness, things like playing back-to-backs way more often, playing with 1 day rest, 2 days rest, those things are never discussed and never brought into the equation. As like I showed you with Jordan, those guys in the past had a much rougher schedule than guys in 2024. And even going one step further, with longevity, shouldn't availability also matter? I mean, looking at Jordan, from age 34 onwards, playing 4 total seasons, played 306 games with a possible 328. Percentage-wise, 93.3%. And all but 1 year, his first in Washington, played all 82 games. Look at LeBron James his past 5 seasons. He's played a total of 271 games with a possible 360. Percentage-wise, barely 75%. And unlike Jordan, this guy rarely, if ever, plays all 82 games, as since 2018 hasn't played over 70 a single time. In the past 4 years, hasn't reached even 60. I know some fans might think I'm nitpicking with this discussion, but I think looking at back-to-backs, playing all the games you can, you gotta value that when looking at longevity. I mean, if you play competitive sports at any level, middle school, high school, college, even just pickup, having 12 hours of rest versus 36 is a massive difference. And looking at Jordan himself, at age 39, when he had 1 day of rest, he was a much better player. And in a 27-game sample size, Jordan, with 1 day of rest, averaged 25 points per game, 6.3 boards, 5.4 assists on 42.3% shooting. And shocking to me, had a plus-minus of plus 4.5. If you put 0-2 Jordan, given today's training, today's rest, today's schedule, the offensive rules of today, he would dominate like no 39-year-old you've ever seen. And looking back at the word of the video, it is quality longevity. And one last thing I want to throw out there. Michael Jordan's last 2 years in Chicago, 97 and 98. He played more back-to-back games than LeBron James from age 34 to 39. And keep in mind, Michael Jordan at age 34 and 35 was playing both ends of the floor, being an all-defensive player. And I would say Jordan's most impressive year overall, top to bottom, was 1998, as he carried that team on both ends of the floor. And most impressive, Jordan at age 35 started all 82 games, playing 38.8 minutes per game. And in terms of defensive impact, Jordan 98, yes, he lost a step, wasn't the athlete he was in his prime, but still, ranked 6th in defensive win shares, 17th in defensive rating, 10th in defensive plus-minus for guards, 13th in steals, and his Bulls team overall was 3rd in defensive rating. 98 Jordan is the pinnacle, the ideal, of quality longevity. As at age 35, still played both ends, wasn't load managing sitting out, was elite on offense, a deadly scorer, and pursuing championships, not individual numbers. Again, referencing guys like Curry, Durant, LeBron, who offensively are dominant at this age, but defensively, none of them really have it like Jordan had in 98. And looking at LeBron's big-time rival, that of course was Kevin Durant. And KD, much like LeBron James these past few years, hasn't been healthy nearly as much as you would like, as in 4 total years has played 183 games to this point. Like I said earlier, this guy averaging 29-30 points is impressive. But when you miss 40% of your team's games, don't really play defense, how valuable is that, and how much should I praise you for putting up those numbers on offense? And I think if guys like Jordan and Kobe had the kind of stat-first mindset, they would have played in their late 30s, maybe even early 40s, and just played offense purely. I mean, Kobe's prime ended because he was pushing it too hard during the regular season. Again, going to show you guys, certain players have this playoff mode, and other guys had it all the time. My main point of this video is pretty simple. Longevity, I believe, is highly overrated. And in terms of overall legacy, one of the lesser important things for a player and that you should remember. What you should value and remember is their prime, their peak, and really their apex. And most important of all, how they impacted their team in terms of winning championships. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.